Hello, everyone. I try to look at all of you. Thanks for joining me. Well, I know it's the Serverless conference, but I'm not going to talk about the Serverless. But it's pretty related because it doesn't really matter what technology do you use. At the end of the day, the business expects you to deliver value to the team, to the business, and add value. So if you don't know how to drive the projects, doesn't matter what technology do you use, you will fail. And nobody care about did you use serverless or EC2 or Kubernetes or anything else. So that's what we are going to talk today. These are the soft skills that I think you need to build to be able to grow and lead in your team. You don't need to be manager to be in this session. Pretty much any engineer should lead and should have a mindset of leadership. So still, if it's not cup of your tea, the next room is doing some panels, so I'm not getting offended. Please join them. But if you're staying here, more than happy to walk through my context. Cool. I should admit, I don't like the traditional presentation when I talk and you listen, and I found a lot of value to interact with you. So please scan this QR code for me. And whenever you see the yellow page, you know that you should look at your phone. So I'm not going to distract you. It's guided. When you're all connected, let me know. Thank you. Perfect. Beautiful. All right, let's test and see if you're connected. So please tell me, what do you do in your team? And that helps me understand better of, category of the audience as well. If you're IC, doesn't matter, engineer, staff engineer, not a stack, typo, principal engineers. If you're manager, team lead, tech lead, or if you're business analyst, project manager, product manager. Good, okay. So mainly we have technical people in the room. Great. I'm going to walk you through a conversation, which is typical, and it happened between a developer and a product manager, or let's say program manager. And you tell me if that feels familiar for you. Please try to hear her voice as well. So that's the problem we have in our teams. We actually, as developers, engineers, we are not equipped with this, leadership skills, with this mindset that we need to drive the project. We just think that we need to stay in our cocoon, do our code, and that's gonna be all right. This is a problem that business have with developers, engineers, and dev teams, and we want to talk about it today. I hope it sounds familiar for you. Is it? Cool. Perfect. OK, so we are on the same page. That's good. I give a bit of background about myself and my team and what we are doing. So I'm the senior engineering manager at Atlassian. I drive the platform team. So as you know, platform team helps developers use their capabilities and deploy and operate their services in the cloud. So we kind of sit between developers and AWS in Atlassian. Pretty much all developers at Atlassian. All these products that you can see, like Jira, Confluence, Opsgenie, all the developers use these Micros capabilities. Last year, or a little bit before that, Atlassian, like many other forward-thinking companies, decided to move all the customers of the products to the cloud. It was a aggressive timeline, pretty kind of short deadline, and everyone this became the priority for everyone. This became the whole company OKR and became the priority. So my team, we have to actually make sure that we have enough data, like new regions, point of presence in the cloud, to make sure that the customers can, like onboard to these regions. At the same time, if you're familiar with big scale companies, you know that how quickly your services get into the rate limiting. Like we have thousands of services in the cloud, and each account obviously have like a specific amount of capacity. So all the services get into the rate limiting very quickly. So we had to change our design to make sure that we do some kind of account sharding, and we distribute the load between different accounts to make sure that we are not overwhelming one account in terms of rate limiting. So that was the project we were working on. Almost less than 6 months time, a lot of changes, a lot of like legacy code, a very enthusiastic stakeholder. They wanted to finish the project in time. At that time, I was pretty much new to Atlassian, and whatever I know from Atlassian is they are doing great job with project management, Jira, so everyone should be the expert of project management. So I was quite confident that I would have no problem. I was talking to my team, walking them through, this is the project, and we are doing this, and this is the timeline, let's do it. We kicked off the project. After a little short while, I realized that nothing is working as I expected. Everyone are upset, everyone are quite stressed, they don't know what to do, confusion, complexity. And these are some words which my team just kept telling me, and I was hearing this pain. Like I feel overwhelmed with the scope of the project. I feel a stress, and every clock of the, tick of the clock make me more stressed. I'm stuck because I'm dependent on other teams, and my tickets are kind of, like stuck in the queue. I'm distracted with a lot of messages from the product managers, project managers. They keep asking me what's going on, and I can't even focus. In one word, in one sentence, everyone were kind of screaming internally and externally that we are not ready. I could see people are burned out, people are stressed, and stakeholders pressing the team from the other side. Tell me, what would you do as a leader of the team, or maybe a senior engineer in the team? Just type for me some open-ended, answers. What would you do? Encourage communication, reduce the scope, MVP, limit the scope, enable parallel work, enable others to achieve, prioritize, scheduling, perfect. Work weekend to catch up. Okay, nice, yeah, that's pretty much what everyone thinks. Cool. So in leadership, we have something called the art of impossible, which means that no matter what problems you have, there are always a way as a leader to influence people and find a solution. So potentially, a leader should play different roles. You can be a coach individually, like helping individuals to get over the problems. You can be a connector, helping the whole team to build the culture of being connected and working together. You might be able to being conductor, which means that you become the project manager, you lead the project, and you just organize the whole team to drive the project. At the end, you have to be the compass because you're the role model, you show the direction, and whatever culture you have, the whole team will follow that culture. But it's interesting you said working over the weekend, because I remember a few years ago, I had a manager who was amazing, but when we had the project and she was stressed and pressed by the business, what she did to us was fuel us with the coffee and, like asking us working overtime. Everyone did pretty good job, but then after we delivered the project, everyone was quite burned out. And some people left the team, some people felt demotivated. She had to do a lot of micromanagement. Obviously, you can do those things and still deliver the project, but we don't want to do that. We want to have a sustainable team, work together for years, keep the team together and still having a healthy team while delivering the value. What can we do? So I was sitting, thinking, and we came up with the team with 4 different characteristics that each team should have, each high-performance team. As again, you don't need to be manager to drive these 4 things. As an engineer in the team, you're able to influence the whole, team to go towards that path. Let's start with the accountable team. What does accountable team means? Or what does accountable engineer means? Potentially, just consider a 2-way communication and relation between you and the stakeholders. That's what we want. Stakeholders and the dev team should be pretty much in touch. Some engineering team, they don't know who is the the stakeholder. They have no idea who they're working for. What is they don't get any appreciation, any feedback, nothing, literally disconnected. So we want to work on this, and I need to set the expectation from the beginning. This is the high-level talk. All of them has a lot of, depth to go through. I'm not probably finding time to do that, but feel free to come to me and we can discuss more. But I'll give you some high-level ideas. So one mistake that we have done in the beginning was we didn't actually walk my team through knowing the stakeholder, the kickoff process, nothing. They just, we throw the project on the team and expect them to deliver. That's not happening. So we call it wonder ceremony. If you start with a new project in your team, you need to make sure that developers understand stakeholders. Stakeholders are usually really, enthusiastic, and your team was wondering why they're so aggressive. They don't understand this kind of passion, why they're doing this. So I ran a half-a-day workshop, which is kind of, working together, getting all together. We walk them through the business value, what we are actually trying to achieve, what is the value we are adding to the company, who is our customer, why we are doing all these things. And we kind of connect the stakeholders with the developers so they know each other. They're not talking with the ghost anymore. On the other hand, developers need to talk to the stakeholder as well. How would you do it? How would you make sure that you actually keep your stakeholders up to date? Which one do you use in your usual routine daily work to make sure that the stakeholders are aligned with you? Do you even update the stakeholders? Do you even know who are they? Weekly sync meeting so far is the first one. Blog posts, text messages. Oh, who is using Atlas Ticket? Okay, it can be any async tool, potentially. Cool, all right. So majority of the team, people here, are relying on the weekly sync meetings, which is not bad. It's good. Text messages, I think majority of developer teams are using Slack or Team to get update from each other. It's kind of a distraction. Some people use the async tools. And since you all know, 80% of the room know what are those two, I'm switching to the async tool. The there are so many async tools to drive your project. What we use in Atlassian, it's called Atlas. So Atlas, when you create a new project, you create a new Atlas ticket along with the project. This is to communicate with your stakeholders. So potentially you introduce your team. These are people who are working on this project. You identify what is the goal of your project, what is the definition of done, what is the milestone of your project. And then every week on Friday, everyone, like the lead of the project, go to the Atlas ticket, update the stakeholder, write for them what we have done, kind of a stand-up, really. What we have done, what we have achieved, and what blocks us. On Monday morning, all these Atlas tickets are rolling up to the stakeholders so they can look at the whole picture and see how a big initiative, which is broken down between teams, is going on track or not. So I found this kind of async tools the best because you don't have to explain to so many people. You just, it's kind of, in the architecture design, we have pull architecture and push, right? So they are not going to pull information from your brain. You actually push your information, and they subscribe to your information, and they receive it. Another thing, in my leadership experience, whatever conflict, whatever communication issues, whatever problem you have with people comes from lack of clarity on roles and responsibilities and expectations. We assume that, it's pretty clear, they should know about it, but they don't. So in the beginning of the project, I ran another workshop, like half a day working together, and identified the roles and responsibilities. So everyone just went on the board, put on the board that what do they think that they should do in this project, and the rest of the team verify if their understanding is correct. And if something was missing, any responsibilities or role, the rest of the team were raising that, and someone take that responsibility. This is a great exercise. I do it for not just projects, but everything that I need to collaborate with some people. I go through the roles and responsibility, take half an hour. We identify who is doing what, as simple as that. The next pillar or characteristic for the team. We all know that we should be agile, but are we really? So you can only say I'm working in the agile team if you understand this triangle. The agile triangle talks about limitations and variant, flexibility and limitations. So in each project, you have people, time, and the scope of the project. One of them is usually a hard limit, a restriction. In my case, the time was pretty much restricted. We had to deliver it on time. It was announced in our public roadmap. Everyone was just, looking at our roadmap, waiting for new regions to be launched. So I couldn't really play with the time, but I could play with the scope and people, right? This section needs a little bit of leadership again. You can't really sit there and expect people to give you people. You need to go and advocate and ask for people. You need to go and ask for, negotiate on the scope of the project. So if you want to be a developer just sitting and doing the work, this is the part that you get blocked. You can't grow more. So you need to work with these two and make sure that you convince the business that we actually get more people, even temporarily, or reduce the scope of project. I think you talked about the MVP in your answers. Another obvious things for the agile team, but we usually don't do it as well, incremental delivery. Do you have epics when you create a project? Do you break it down into epics? How many weeks or a sprint each epic might take for you? Is this less than 2 sprints? Is this more than 2 sprints? That's the guideline. So you need to create different epics, break down your project into milestones. make sure that each milestone is deliverable maybe in 2 or 3 sprints. Then you can track the work. If business is pushing for, like delivery, implementation, hurry, please make sure that you communicate with them, buy some time to flesh out your backlog. So I always allocate a couple of days for some of my senior engineers. They go through the backlog, they list all the epics, milestones, the goals that we are achieving, they flesh out the backlog, and then when it's ready, we start the implementation. We never jump into the implementation without clarifying the backlog. Speaking of backlog and sprint of work, if you're working on a project with the limited timeline, maybe you look into the Scrum. If it's a like complex project, look into the Scrum. Otherwise, Kanban won't work. I have an article on that if you want to understand more. All right. Agile rituals can be pretty boring, isn't it? Like you get tired of all these meetings and plannings and retros. They're not useful usually. But with some small tweaks, you can make them efficient. Please tell me, what agile rituals are you running in your team? Like, which one are your main rituals? Sprint planning, grooming, retro, stand-up, checkpoint, a sprint checkpoint. That's it? Anything else? Retro, maybe?
You only let us pick one.
You do what? Sorry.
You only let us pick one.
Oh, right, okay. I should have changed it. Okay, that's fine. Who does the sprint checkpoint? Okay, nobody. Grooming? A couple of people. Okay, so I'll focus more on these two then. With the sprint planning, I would like to understand, what do you do in your sprint planning? Do you do capacity planning, goal setting, sprint kickoff, sprint review and closure? Is it multiple choice or just one? Just one. Oh. Okay. Since it's not multiple choice, we can't rely on this data, but seems like you expose yourself to most of them. I'll tell you one trick in these ones. Like, two of them are quite tricky. Sprint planning has goal setting and grooming, which usually are left out by the teams. Let's focus on those two. I know, like, most of you probably know how to do retro, how to do capacity planning. If you don't, I'll walk you through. But let me talk about those two first. Sprint goals. A few weeks ago, I had sprint planning with my team, and I was asking them, what is the sprint goal they're trying to achieve? And they said, we don't have a sprint goal. We have tickets, we ship those tickets. How can you ship the tickets without knowing what actually you want to achieve? So I went through the tickets, and I found a few random tickets here and there with no theme, unique theme. I asked them to do it again. Go and find their sprint goal first. So they came back with their sprint goal, and they have a beautiful list of tickets which towards achieving those sprint goals. Having the sprint goals help the team be focused, help the team have more meaning. Instead of looking at the tickets and don't understand what we are actually doing, they have a better, bigger picture. They know what they're doing, they have more they feel more responsible and accountable. And obviously, the team is concentrated on delivering specific right things. So at each sprint planning, we actually ask if the team achieved the goal, yes, no, partially, and then we look at the number of tickets which were delivered. That's my second priority. Mid-sprint grooming. That's also another activity which is usually left out by the teams. What should we do in mid-sprint grooming? I know some people just pull the next tickets to the sprint +1, and that's it. So in the sprint grooming, you need to come up with the next sprint goal, first of all. That's your main activity. And then obviously you pull the tickets towards that goal. But more importantly, have you used my gut feeling says that? I feel we are going to deliver. I don't know, but I think we are close to the deadline. If you use these words, please make sure that you revisit your project management skills. Because as a senior engineer, as a leader, you shouldn't use those words, right? But how can you be so confident, right? There are so many tools that you can use, no matter what kind of tool, checkpoint, I don't know, like Jira, whatever you use. There are so many reports and data that engineers should rely, and they usually don't. Let's go through a few of them. So in the mid-sprint planning, we go through the epics. We look at each epic, which, the ones that we are working in parallel. And we see how much from each epic left. If there is an epic in danger, we actually shuffle around people, allocate more people in that epic. So we make sure that we pay more attention to those epics. There are other tools. You can look at the dependency of the tickets and see which one you should bring to the sprint. If you don't consider this, you will get blocked all the time. These filter lists show you what ticket is actually repeating all the time, like carrying over all the time in different sprints. In a sprint like Austin, Tokyo, the other one, Bangalore. So you can see this ticket is keep carrying over. Why? What's wrong with this ticket? So you can go and look into those tickets and make sure that you can unblock it. This is the amount of resolved ticket versus created. So why these are not going to be close to each other, these two graphs, why the amount of work is going to be soaring, and your team are not able to keep up, you need to find the blocker, what is blocking them. If you have customer requests, this chart actually show you how many days the ticket is staying in the queue, and you didn't touch it, and you get a lot of comments and chased up from the customers. So the ones which are at the right top, they are in danger. It means that customers are unhappy. You have to tackle those ones first. This is the velocity chart. I'm sure many of you use it. It shows how many tickets or story points you committed and how many you actually achieved. If it's less than maybe 80%, you need to look into why, what happened. Sometimes the tickets are stuck in the PR request, PR review, and then nobody really take care of them. Different reasons. And you can look at your PR cycle, dev cycle. There's so many reports that you can rely on and become a more data-driven engineer. The last pillar or characteristic of the team is more towards leadership skills, like pure people leadership skills. I know you're not engineering managers or maybe like team leads, but knowing about these things helping your team, like team members. Probably we don't have much time, so since it's not more like touching the developers, I just go through them quickly. Have you ever felt project fatigue? Which means that you're in the project, it's not going to finish, you're tired, you're exhausted, and you feel you haven't achieved anything, you're not rewarded, you're not recognized. So by breaking down project into smaller milestones, you can celebrate that milestone. Like I have so many celebrations for the team for each milestone that we achieve, and they feel pretty on track and rewarded. Look at some of the signs, symptoms when the team are, like distracted, they're tired, they're catastrophizing, they're arguing over simple things. That's the symptom of burnout. Build the culture of win together, lose together. And by that, I mean you can encourage the team to do a lot of collaboration, pair up, and let team work together instead of being isolated. So 6 months later, when our project was done and finished, the team was happy, So far, you saw all the pictures as generated by AI. This is my actual team photo on the day that we delivered. Everyone acknowledged, everyone celebrated, and published blog posts. People felt happy. We delivered everything that we needed to deliver. People feel productive, energized, and be proud to work in this team. And I put together this kind of tip survey result to show you that the team is not burnt out, they're not unhappy while they actually deliver. So the score for manager was 100%, the score for the team, like happiness, was 94%. So that shows that the team is not broken while they deliver the things. I would love you to write down some of your takeaways for me, maybe some ideas that you're going to try in your team, no matter what is your role, and then submit it here. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for listening.